Good morning again. It's so good to see you. This will be my last time with you, I think, this year. And I'd like to thank this community for just being such a source of kindness and light in my life. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you, and thanks to everybody at home. I love that Ken, I think Ken chose, or Cindy chose the song that we sang a few minutes ago. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. 'Tis the season to be jolly. 'Tis the season to be jolly. I'm sorry, but that's too much pressure for me. Okay, maybe it is for you too. The declaration that this is now the season to be jolly is something that I'm not necessarily comfortable with all the time. And being jolly would be a challenge for many of us, right? Even without being in the second year of a pandemic that seems like it will never end. Without being in the year of the first non-peaceful transfer of power in our nation's history and all that's happened because of that. Even without having to argue with our friends and families and neighbors about the merits of wearing masks and getting vaccinated. Even without having to learn what words like Omicron mean. Without all of this, the normal wear and tear of life, the normal collateral damage of being human would be enough to threaten all of our holidays and keep them from being merry and bright. We have in this room health issues, watching along. We have financial worries. We have relational tensions. We have family squabbles. We have random emergencies that just rise up out of nowhere, that will even arise today. And we're dealing all of this. We're dealing with all of it while being immersed in calendar-specific expectations of good cheer. It's the most frustrating time of the year. You and me, we're under a constant pressure, but specifically right now, we are under two distinct pressures. The first is that we are expected to be perpetually joyful right now. The obligation to be happy, it's there every day, right? But it's particularly powerful this time of year. And for those of us here and watching online who battle with depression, or contend with grief, or struggle with self-doubt. Ordinary times can be challenging, but life is never more exhausting than in a season when everyone else seems to be singing. 2 years ago, I had a serious mental health crash a few days after Christmas when I was at the lowest, most hopeless point that I'd ever been in the 51 years of my life. And I realized that part of it was I was feeling the pressure to be part of some perfect holiday that could not exist with me in the condition I was. I felt like I had to get better because of the calendar. And today I want to remind you that your sadness does not take a holiday. That your grief does not honor the fact that you want to do other things right now. More than any other time of the year, you might feel a pressure to be well, to pull it all together, to deck the halls and don your gay apparel and let your heart be light and be appropriately jolly. And I want to release you from that today. Because what the holidays can do is they can actually magnify loss for us. They can amplify sadness. We gather together with people we love at this time of year, and yet we're always mindful of the empty chairs. We make note of who is not there due to death or disagreement. As we repeat beloved traditions, we realize the ones that have been interrupted by time and by distance and by circumstance. We have nostalgia this time of year that comes through songs and movies and activities, and yet those can be decidedly bittersweet when they arrive because they might remind us about when we thought days were better than they are now. when we felt more joy than we feel now. They might remind us of a day when we were surrounded by more people than we are now. In general, we don't do sad very well, do we? Just ask someone how they are. You know how they are? They're good. How are you? I'm good. Everyone seems to be good, and yet we're not good. Most of us, if we're honest, I was a pastor for a long time, and I would see people in the hallways, and I would say that, hi, how are you? You know what I would do? I'd pray they didn't answer me honestly. One time I said to a woman, how are you? And she said, can I tell you? And I said, oh, please don't. But the truth was, I didn't want to be inconvenienced by unpleasant news from her. And we all do that. We all on the surface want to make people think that we're better than we are, rather than admitting, I'm kind of a mess. I'm grieving a lot right now. I feel really insecure. My marriage is shaky. Our finances are horrible. But yet that's what is real. That's who we are right now. Most of the time we feel guilty in our grief and our sadness because we feel like it makes other people uncomfortable, and maybe it does. But many people who deal with depression or grief describe to me running into people who have reached their compassion threshold. They realize that the people around them have just saturated all that they can take. And they're expected to have gotten over whatever it is they've been going through, as if the grief and the sadness is an isolated event that we're going to pass through and not a continuing wound. And when late November rolls around, we have a special pressure to joy up. We just did a ritual here, a sharing of joys and concerns. Or in my church where we grew up, it was joys and sorrows. Can you imagine if we said, let's share our joys, keep your sorrows for another place? Please share only your joys, your concerns are of no matter to us. No, we come here, we embrace the fullness of what it means to be human. We don't shy away from either, because that there's beauty in the joy and in the sorrow. And I think what we can do this holiday is we can make space for the unpleasant and the uncomfortable and the annoying. We can invite the sadness into our gatherings. So you're under a pressure to be happy, but you're under another pressure too. You also face the pressure to be perfect. This time of year, the lights on the house or the shape of your Christmas tree or your Christmas card photos or the gifts that you give or the cookies you make or your appearance at parties can all exacerbate the comparison sickness that we are afflicted with almost every day of the year. We look at Hollywood holiday movies and we want to be like the Baileys from It's a Wonderful Life, but we feel more like the Griswolds in Christmas Vacation, right? What we find ourselves often doing is looking at other people's lives from afar and using them to measure our lives up close. Whether the lights on our houses or the trees in our living rooms or our bank accounts or our marriages or our bodies or our careers or our families, we view others in the soft, flattering glow that distance provides, while seeing ourselves and our families in the raking light of close proximity. That means we're always coming up short from how we feel everyone else is doing. We usually feel lack and less than. I saw a video from a UPS driver this week. He went to a house with one of the Ring doorbells. And on the video, you see the UPS driver go, "Hey, Dan, how you doing? Just wanted to deliver this to you." And he said, "I noticed there's a lot better lights on most of the houses around here." He said, "So string a few more up." He said, "Do better, Dan." And he left. Now, he was being funny, but that's what we do. We all do it to Dan. We do it to our spouses and our partners and our friends and our families and our children. Do better. Because there is such a pressure to be, someone called it the stock family. You know the family that's in the photo that you get with the frame? They're the stock family. You'll never be as happy as the stock family. Your children's teeth will never be as straight without spending a lot of money. So you're under pressure, and I wonder, what if this season you decided to welcome the what is of your life, not the what was, not the what could have been or what should be, but what is, and find the good in the what is of this moment, this holiday. Because we feel the pressure to be happy and perfect, and the holidays are a uniquely challenging season, one where we can have trouble being the most important thing we have to be, which is real. Our family I grew up Christian, so we always celebrated Christmas. We've always had a Christmas tree, and my wife and I, when we got married, we got an artificial tree, a gift from our parents, and we had it for years, and it was a really nice artificial tree, and it was great in the ways that artificial trees are. It always stayed green. It never needed watering. It always fit that space perfectly. It was always perfectly symmetrical. But then the light stopped working, and we had to decide what to do. And we got a real tree, and we realized that the artificial tree had some great things, but it didn't have what real trees have. It didn't fill the house with that unmistakable aroma. It didn't feel the same in your hands, even with the sap that gets on your fingers, it smells that way. We didn't have the joyful experience of heading out and going to get that tree and bringing it home. We just walked unceremoniously into the attic, right? Last year, we got a late start on our Christmas tree hunting. And we drove to the Christmas tree lot, and it was no longer there. That's how late we were. So we drove to where we thought the next one was, and there were no trees there. And the third place went, and the fourth, and guess what started to happen? I started to panic. We are going to lose Christmas. And we finally went, we found a place with trees, but you know what kind of trees they were at that point? They were barely Charlie Brown trees. Charlie Brown would have said pass. And so we got this tree home, and we realized it was horribly crooked. And there was a giant bare spot on one side, so we had to finagle it and turn it and get it to the right spot, and we overcompensated with lights and ornaments, but you know what? It was a great tree. Christmas was beautiful, and it was wonderful. The imperfections are beautiful. The imperfections of your marriage are beautiful. The imperfections of your children, they're beautiful. The imperfections of you, they're beautiful. And that's the kind of holiday I want for you and for me. Beautifully imperfect, with all the mess and all the flaws and all the less than pretty things. I want to let go of the pressure to be more or better or different. I just want to be present. As a Christian, that means I don't need a happy Christmas, and I'm not resigned to a blue Christmas. I'm just going to enjoy a real Christmas. I'm going to celebrate when I'm able. I'm going to cry when the tears come. I'm going to sing the songs, and I'm going to be in crowds when I can. I'm going to pull away for a few moments to grieve in silence. And I'm going to be okay with all of it. And I want you to be okay with all of it right now. What does this mean for you? This means that you're going to make out some holiday invitations, that you're going to plan a holiday party right now. I hope you'll invite gratitude. I hope that you will see what is, if nothing else changes, and find something good in that. I want you to invite laughter. I want you to seek out the things that make you light and give you joy. I want you to experience humor, because that is such an integral part of being human. I want you to invite generosity over. I want you to give. Find some abundance that you have so that someone else who's living in lack can have more. I want you to invite joy. I want you to cultivate an optimism that is greater than your circumstances. I want you to be relentless about seeking that lightness. And I want you to invite peace. I want you to invite a rest that says, despite everything and because of everything, I am going to exhale into this moment. So yes, invite gratitude. invite laughter, invite generosity, invite joy, invite peace. But have a bigger guest list. Invite grief. Notice the empty chairs. Feel the loss of people you love. Celebrate the fact that you had someone in your life worth missing. Talk about those people. Let the grief sit at the table with you. Invite depression. Don't feel pressure to change how you feel. Simply allow yourself to be exactly who you are and exactly how you're wired. Invite your loneliness. Feel whatever isolation or estrangement that you feel right now and don't judge it. Invite your worry, your fears of the future, your things you can't control. Even though you should let them go, invite them in so that you can admit that right now it's hard to be present because of the future. And invite your disappointment, the ways you've fallen short, your failures, because you're in good company with them. I hope that you'll make space and invite all the joys and all the sorrows, that you'll welcome them all when they arrive, and that you'll embrace the messy reality of authenticity this season. So have a happy holiday and a blue Christmas and a season where you don't have to choose one or the other.